Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our DRI EDIA Champions pilot program information session. If you require French interpretation, please select your preferred language channel from the Zoom settings bar. Closed captioning is also available, and this session is being recorded and will be accessible on the Alliance's YouTube channel in a few days. We'll be posting it online in both English and French next week on our website, both on our YouTube channel and on the program page. So you should be able to find it in two locations. If we receive more questions than we have time to answer today during this live session, we'll compile responses to all the unanswered questions and send them to all registrants next week. Before we dive into the details of our grant program, I want to take a moment to extend a warm welcome to all of our attendees from across Canada. And I'm delighted to see that so many people are coming from across Canada. Our information session is not just about sharing details of our new program. It's about building a community of passionate individuals who are committed to making positive changes in our research community in Canada. My name is Dawn Wood. I am the Director of Program Management and Administration at Digital Research Alliance of Canada, or the Alliance for short. I'll be your host throughout the session. I'd like to introduce the team behind today's presentation. We have 3 program officers who work on this program and are answering your questions that you send to us by email. They are Ming Yan, Vanessa Moodley, and Yolanda Chung. And we're here to assist you with any inquiries. As I address you today, I do so from the unceded traditional territories of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I invite you to join me in respectfully acknowledging the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis lands that we all work and live on. It's important that we continuously work hard to understand the long history of these lands and recognize what those histories mean for the work of truth and reconciliation that lies ahead of the Alliance and the DRI ecosystem as a whole. I encourage you to take the time to learn about the lands you call home and think about what you're doing personally to advance reconciliation in Canada. Thank you for your attention and your commitment to this important endeavor. I'd like to take a moment to remind ourselves of the principles that guide our interactions. On your screen, you will see our organization's code of conduct, emphasizing the importance of being respectful and considerate in our communications and interactions. The Alliance seeks to provide a welcoming, engaging, and safe community for everyone. Discriminatory language is not appropriate in any venue or platform, and the Alliance does not tolerate harassment in any form. Harassment is understood as any behavior that threatens another person or group or produces an unsafe environment. Throughout this presentation, we encourage you to engage with us using the Q&A feature. I see several people are doing so already. If you have any questions, just type them into the Q&A and we will address them at the end. And as I said before, if we can't get to them all by the end of the session, we will be compiling them in writing and sending them out to everyone a few days after the event. So let's shift our focus to the agenda for today's webinar. I'll start with a brief introduction of our organization, and then Yolanda will provide an overview of the program and important details for you to remember. Following that, she will share the application process, evaluation process, and some tips to help you refine your application. That will take about 10 minutes. Then we'll open the floor for a Q&A session. So starting with an introduction of the Alliance and the concept of DRI and EDIA. In support of the Canadian post-secondary research landscape, and as part of the National DRI Strategy in 2019, Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, ISED for short, has established a new national not-for-profit organization called the Digital Research Alliance of Canada. We coordinate and fund activities in DRI and provide Canadian scientists and scholars with the digital tools needed to conduct world-leading research that supports Canadian innovation. And there are a few acronyms that you'll see repeatedly. I'm sure you've seen in the call for proposals. DRI being one of them. DRI is Digital Research Infrastructure. And there are 3 pillars that we focus on: advanced research computing, research data management, and research software. Our services and tools in these areas provide Canadian researchers with the resources they need to complete, store, and share their work. The Alliance is committed to ensuring that Canadian researchers have equitable opportunities to participate in funding opportunities based on EDIA principles. And we are seeking diverse representation through institutional and industry stakeholder community engagement, including with Indigenous communities and nations. So with this introduction, we're ready to dive into the overview of the program. So Yolanda, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Dawn. On June 5th, the Alliance launched a call for proposals for the DRI EDIA Champions pilot program. It is to fund and provide project-related training to graduate and postgraduate researchers to deliver a project of their own design with the goal to connect with members of equity-seeking groups within their research community to promote and facilitate access to Alliance DRI services. This $3.15 million funding opportunity supports a new EDIA initiative focused on increasing awareness and uptake of the Alliance DRI by equity-seeking groups, including women, Indigenous people, First Nation, Inuit and Métis, persons with disabilities, neurodiverse people, members of visible minorities or racialized groups, members of 2S LGBTQIA+ communities, geographically isolated or first-generation post-secondary students. So what is the DRI EDIA Champion? The DRI EDIA Champions, next slide. Yeah, thank you. The champions are individuals that will work with the Alliance to promote and facilitate access to National Alliance DRI services within the research community to members of equity-seeking groups. It is anticipated that a DRI EDIA champion will spend approximately 3 hours a week on average on all activities over the duration of the project term. To be eligible, an applicant must be a graduate or postgraduate researcher enrolled at a Canadian university who is conducting research in a graduate studies program, master's or PhD, or in a formal postdoctoral program or appointment, or a student enrolled at a Canadian college, CEGEP, institute, or polytechnic engaged in applied research with industry or community partners. They need to be affiliated with an eligible Canadian institution and must maintain such an affiliation for the duration of the award period. For added clarity, a postdoctoral researcher is an early career researcher who performs research under the general supervision of a faculty member. Also, an applicant must be a member of an equity-seeking group or an individual with a well-thought-out strategy to reach out to an equity-seeking group. The applicant must also identify a mentor from the institution or audience community who agrees to provide support with the EDIA aspect of the project. The applicants are not required to hold Canadian citizenship or permanent resident status. And here are the eligible Canadian institutions or organizations, which includes the designation of one individual at the vice president level to be responsible for the oversight of the award funds. We welcome and encourage submissions from applicants affiliated with small institutions, Indigenous research groups, and other organizations that are not traditionally heavy users of the Alliance DRI resources. Applicants must propose a project that promotes the engagement with and uptake of Alliance DRI among equity-seeking researchers. Appendix A in the call for proposals outlines the envisioned activities, which fall under the following categories: training or mentoring, promoting or advancing DRI, addressing disciplinary challenges, driving cultural change, informing future initiative, and any other pilot-aligned activities identified by applicants. The applications will describe and expand upon these activities and are expected to address more than one of these broad areas of activity. The project must be carried out in Canada, and it is not aimed at advancing individual programs of research. And under this program, approximately 90 awards will be issued. Each award has a stipend of $27,000 plus up to $5,000 for project implementation costs and up to $3,000 for travel. Successful applicant will participate in onboarding and training provided by the Alliance and a virtual 16-week open science training opportunity tailored for this program and delivered by OLS. The content includes mentorship and training on applying the principles of open science. The time commitment is approximately 2 to 3 hours a week. The applicant will also participate in an in-person meeting, which will be held in Toronto, tentatively scheduled for January 2025. The travel expenses include all relevant expenses related to travel and are limited by region. The grant disbursement plan entails an initial 70% payment in October 2024, followed by a second disbursement of the remaining 30% in May or June 2025, within 60 days of submitting the final report. So let's move forward and highlight some key dates you want to keep in mind. We encourage all participants to submit any questions they may have to our program's email address by July 10. The deadline of submitting applications is July 17, 5 p.m. ET. And we anticipate issuing the notice of award in late August. Your project will then begin and conclude on March 31st next year. Along the way, you will submit a progress report and attend the in-person meeting. Applications will be accepted in both English and French through our online intake platform called SurveyMonkey Apply. The application process is straightforward. So first, familiarize yourself with the call for proposals and sign up on SurveyMonkey Apply. Then select DRI EDIA Champions and complete the eligibility form. Once you have confirmed as eligible, the full application will appear. This includes the applicant information form, the application and activities form, and budget. There's also a task to upload CV. Meanwhile, you will need to provide contact details for 3 individuals: your advisor, EDIA mentor, and institution contact. The platform will automatically send them a request to upload letters of support. And once all the forms and uploads are completed, you can hit the submit button and we will receive your full application. Here is a screenshot of the tasks on SurveyMonkey Apply. And once you have completed the eligibility form, all the remaining tasks below will show up. And all applications received will go through a competitive merit review process. A merit review committee composed of national and international subject matter experts evaluates the applications and awards available funds based on a thorough review process. This consists of review and scoring, consensus scoring, and ranking. And in our commitment to EDIA, we adopt a national approach to evaluation. We strive for broad representation of institution sizes, equity-seeking groups, and coverage of all regions and official languages in Canada. We also place high emphasis on the clarity and feasibility of proposed activities and impactful engagement with equity-seeking groups. Here are some key strategies to ensure your application maximizes its potential for success. 1, dive deep into the proposals. Familiarize yourself with the guidelines, objectives, and criteria. If you have any questions, read our FAQ section on our website and don't hesitate to send us questions before July 17th. 2, highlight any collaborations with relevant stakeholders and demonstrate buy-in and support from them can strengthen your application. 3, inform your institution of your intention to submit an application. Obtain the approval and notify them about the uploading task of the letter of support. 4, clearly articulate the potential impact and outcomes of your proposed project. Provide specific examples of how your project will contribute to advancing EDIA within your community. 5, take some time to review and revise your application before submitting. Because some questions have word count restrictions, ensure that your writing is clear and concise. You can consider seeking feedback from your mentors to strengthen your application further. And here is a screenshot to the program page. This is the core source where all essential information is found, such as the call for proposals and the application link. This web page also contains a FAQ, which, depending on the questions we receive, will be updated periodically. And if you or someone you know is interested in participating in the Alliance Merit Review Committees to review applications, they can also submit their interest in this webpage. Now, the presentation is over, and I will hand it over to you, Dawn.
Thank you, Yolanda. Appreciate that. So we will now open the floor for Q&A. Please feel free to type your questions in the Q&A. You can find the button at the bottom panel. We'll do our best to answer them. Just a reminder for anyone that joined after the launch of this session, this recording will be posted online in both English and French next week on our website and on the Alliance YouTube channel. If we receive more questions during the session than we're able to answer during the time we have, we will compile a list of responses in writing and we will disseminate them to all registrants next week. Okay, and I see that we have 35 questions already, so we'll start going through these. The first question is, if a student has a tri-council scholarship, for example, CIHR, are they still eligible for this funding opportunity? I'm happy to answer that one. We do not have restrictions on if you hold other federally funded grants, assuming they are not for this project. But of course, we encourage you to adhere to the restrictions that might be placed on the other grants that you hold. Looking at the next question, should your referees submit their letters or do you have to attach letters from them to your application? Yolanda, would you like to answer this one?
Sorry, just unmuted myself. So during the application process, you enter the email address on the application, and then the SurveyMonkey Apply, the platform, will automatically send them an email to go onto the platform and upload that letters. So your referees will be uploading the letters by themselves.
The next question, do referees submit also by the July 17th deadline, or do they have an extended deadline? Are Vanessa and Ming answering questions, or should I throw this over to you again, Yolanda?
The referees will have to submit the letters by July 17th. So you have to click the submit button before the deadline. And before you can click the submit button, all the tasks and forms have to be completed.
Thank you. Next question. It's regarding the letter of support. Do we need to follow the format provided, or can they submit their own?
Yes, they can submit. They have to follow the format provided. So when SurveyMonkey Apply prompt them to submit the letters, we also send them the link of the original document we designed. So it's a PDF, and they can fill out the PDF and upload the form to SurveyMonkey Apply.
Thanks, Yolanda. Next question, this from someone who is expected to graduate in December of 2024, but they plan to continue on as a postdoctoral researcher with their current PhD supervisor. They're wondering if they will still be eligible to apply if they're a PhD student for the first half of the program and a postdoctoral researcher for the second half. I'm happy to answer that one. Yes, if you are with the same institution and you have the same supervisor, this should not be a problem. If your circumstances are different, perhaps contact us by email and we can advise you on your particular situation. Next question, can I include more than one DRI mentor in my application? If not, how do I select the strongest one for the official form? We have only really provided space for one, and it's an EDIA mentor, I believe the requirement is for equity, diversity, inclusivity, and accessibility mentor. You could certainly speak about having other mentors, but your one formal mentor that you provide the letter from, we only have space for one. In terms of the strongest, I think I will let you and your mentor use that judgment, whatever support the mentor is providing that most closely aligns with the spirit of objectives of the program. We have a question about the final report. It's due in the spring of 2025. And the person asking the question is interested in working with their university to use the stipend jointly to fund a pilot project that will run from January 25 to fall 2025. Is this possible through this funding opportunity? Generally, this funding is, as stated in the call for proposals document, you'll see that this funding is intended for new projects or projects that substantially build on your existing research. It's not intended for any activities that go beyond March 2025. If you have further questions though, about your particular situation, you can send us an email. We have a question from someone who is a PhD student in their 4th year, asking if they can apply for the award with their PhD project, or any following project has to be introduced. Yolanda, would you like to answer that one?
So this program is for new projects. So applicants are not recommended to apply for the award with the PhD project that is existing.
Yeah, I agree, unless unless it substantially adds on to those activities. This funding is for a new project. We have a question, someone who is going to be outside of Canada for part of the time that they hold the award. If they've received the award, they're a resident of Canada and working with a Canadian university, but will be overseas for some time. The project would be a combination of in-person and virtual activities, so the successful completion would not be affected by their temporary travel. If it's temporary travel, that should be fine, but you'll see in the call for proposals, in order to be eligible, the project must be take place in Canada. So funding is for projects that take place in Canada. So if you're planning short-term temporary travel, you might want to disclose that, but if you're going to actually be working on the project and activities taking place outside of Canada, that will not be eligible. We have 65 questions. Still, I'm looking at the time, but we have quite a bit of time. The next question is, who can act as the academic supervisor or advisor? Do they need to be employed at the student's organization, or do they need to be in an academic post? Do they need to be currently working with the student or separate from a student's graduate supervisor? I can answer this one. Your academic supervisor is the supervisor who oversees you at your institution. If you're in an exceptional situation, feel free to email us with the details and can ask a question, but in general, it is your formal supervisor. As a graduate researcher or a postgraduate researcher, you would have a supervisor assigned to you at your institution. Someone is asking if only researchers in Canadian universities can use the services of the Alliance. Yolanda, would you like to answer that one?
Would Lee or Patrick be the better person to answer this one?
No, I think I can answer this one. Let me know if you think that I'm missing something, but you have to be affiliated with an eligible institution. Yolanda had mentioned in one of the earlier slides what eligible institutions are, and you can find them in the call for proposals as well. These are post-secondary institutions, research hospitals, and not-for-profits that are active in the national DRI ecosystem. So you need to be affiliated with an eligible institution. Oh, I see. The question is if they can use the services of the Alliance. I thought it was whether or not you can apply. I'm not sure if we, yeah. Patrick or Lee, Yolanda's right. Would you like to answer the question about whether or not only Canadian
Honestly,
universities?
from an RDM perspective, Don, the answer you gave is the same. So that's good.
Thank you, Lee. Next question from a PhD student who has yet to relocate to Canada in September of this year. And do they qualify? They're waiting for school to start. If you are accepted and you are at your school currently and you're able to coordinate the required letters of support, yes, you need to be you need to have the advocacy of the school that is required in order to apply. But if you will be in your institution at the start of the term of your project, yes, you're eligible to apply. Someone's asking how many hours should be spent on the project. And Yolanda, I think you touched on that when
Yes.
you were discussing the slides.
So the expected number of hours per week is 2 to 3 hours, around 3 hours per week during the whole project duration. So the expected start date is around August or September after the notice of award. And then the conclusion of the project will be March 31st, 2025.
We have a question. If the DRI EDIA mentor can be the same person as the graduate thesis supervisor, yes. If you feel that your supervisor, your academic supervisor is the most appropriate person to also be your EDIA mentor, that's absolutely acceptable. We do ask that you submit the letters, the required letters, because you will not be able to submit your application unless you upload both letters. Someone is asking if the merit review committee members need to know the applicant. It's not required. I'm assuming that you're referring to the application form where we ask you to suggest other reviewers. We are actively recruiting for reviewers for the committee. So they do not have to know you, and we would not ask people that know you would not be assigned to your application to avoid any conflict of interest. Someone is asking if an undergraduate researcher qualifies. Unfortunately, not during this pilot project. This is focused on graduate and postgraduate researchers. If you have any exceptional circumstances you'd like to be considered, please send us an email. But in general, those are the eligibility requirements for the program. Oh, someone is asking about eligibility. It was unclear in the application if the applicant must be a PI or graduate student. In the college system, we don't have graduate students at that level. Doesn't that mean we're not eligible? I want to make sure I understand the question, but Yolanda, we do often get questions about eligibility. Do you want to answer?
So I believe in the eligibility slide. May, would you mind going back to so on the top right one, so I guess the situation could fall under a student enrolled at a Canadian college, SAGEP, Institute or Polytechnic engaged in applied research with industry or community partners.
Yeah.
Is that right, Don?
I believe so. Yes.
Yes.
If we haven't answered your question, please feel free to type it in again into the Q&A. And if we don't have time to get to it during the session, we will be sending out written answers to all the unanswered questions after the session. Someone is asking if artistic projects are eligible as part of the driving culture change category. That's a really interesting question. Lizanne, are you able to answer this question?
Sure. Thank you so much, Dawn. And I actually see a whole lot of questions related to projects that may not be clearly fitting into some of the criteria that we've already mapped out. So I do want to provide a bit of clarity here. I want to give a few examples of what projects could look like. So please just do this as a guide. So women in science struggle with time, especially moms and caregivers. So your proposal could focus on many aspects of these challenges, including better knowing the common or specific challenges, addressing the challenges by introducing new ways of overcoming structural biases, or creating awareness that these challenges could exist. That's one idea or example. Or your proposal could be about conducting a survey aimed at better understanding the awareness that the EDIA community have about the Alliance and its resources or services. I'll name a few more. Your use of the Alliance DRI, you would like to better know how to reach your community so that they too can benefit from these resources. So your proposal could include a plan on how to inform your community. Also, you use the Alliance frequently, but accessibility is a difficult one. You've noticed that there are perhaps better ways to optimize the access of the DRI. So your proposal could be about better knowing and addressing accessibility challenges. There are a variety of others. Please, we absolutely encourage you to submit your proposal if you're not sure. However, as you develop your proposals, please consider, because you will be asked to demonstrate, because these are the two main pieces, how this aligns with the goal of increasing awareness and accessibility.
Thank you, Lizanne. Next question that I see is a question about whether or not the program will continue beyond this year. So if someone does not apply this year, will they be able to apply in a following year? Right now, this is a pilot program, and we do not have firm plans to launch again next year. We will be taking learnings from this pilot to consider new iterations of the program. But at this point in time, this is the only round of the program. We have a question about budget. Someone wants to know if their project costs more than $5,000, which is the limit for implementation costs, can they use their stipend to fund the project, or would this make their project ineligible? Yolanda, would you like to answer that question?
I believe that if you if the project implementation costs is over $5,000, you can reach out to us and see if we have additional funding for you, or I don't believe we encourage applicants to use their stipend to fund the project, but we encourage you to reach out to us and discuss further about the details of the additional implementation costs. Dawn, please chime in if
Thanks, Nessa. Thanks, Yolanda. I agree with you. If you look in the application form in the budget section, you will see that there is an option for you to propose more than $5,000, and then there will be a field in which you can explain why. So if it is aligned with the spirit and the objectives of the program, but if you're uncertain, because if that's not approved, then your application won't be approved. So if you wanted to ask more questions, feel free to send us an email. But generally, if it's directly aligned with the purpose of the program, but no, we would not consider using the stipend is not to be used for project implementation costs. The next question is, how do we get an EDIA mentor to write the recommendation letter? Is it assigned?
I can
Yolanda.
answer to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the letter of support, the template is already here. So when the platform send out the instruction to your EDIA mentor, they will also get the template as well. So they don't need to write their recommendation on their own. They just need to fill out the form.
Thanks, Yolanda. I see a question about whether the mentor can be the same as the supervisor. I believe we've already answered that one, so we'll move ahead. The answer is yes, you can have the same. It could be the same person, but they will be required to submit a letter for both role in the platform. We also have a question again about whether or not they can use a stipend cost for implementation, which we've answered. So we'll move on from this question. Someone is asking if professors and universities can be one of the applicants. Yolanda, would you like to answer this question?
Unfortunately, the answer is no. Only graduate and postgraduate researchers can apply. So we believe research associate and professors will not be eligible for this program.
Yes. And for clarity, I believe some people still wanted some clarity in messages we had been getting earlier and what a postdoctoral position is. And for clarity, you would be somebody who is in a formal postdoctoral position and is assigned a supervisor at the institution that you are at. Someone is asking if there are details on the format of the proposal, any length requirements, citations. So if you, Yolanda, I'll let you answer this one.
I believe the template of the forms is on our website under FAQ. So if you go to our website, you should be able to see the forms, the application template. To be specific, yes, it's under the FAQ and it's at the question at the bottom.
Thanks, Yolanda. We have a question about reference letters. Whenever we submit our application, the references would receive an email to fill out the forms or submit their letters. We don't need to contact or follow up with them. Yolanda, I'll let you explain the process.
Correct. You will need to fill out the emails address on the form, and the platform will send out the emails. And then once they completed the upload of the tasks, then you, the applicant, will receive an email telling you that someone submitted the letters for you. And once you have 3 letters received, then you will need to go back onto the platform and hit the submit or mark as complete button on the platform. So yes, you will receive communications from the platform telling you that whether or not your contacts has submitted letters for you.
Thanks, Yolanda. We have a question about whether this is open to students who will be beginning their postgraduate studies in the incoming semester, but are not currently pursuing their postgraduate studies during the time of their application. I think we answered that one already, and the answer is if you are already enrolled, but you're not starting your program and you're able to secure, the required letters of support from your supervisor and your institution, yes, if you will be a student or a researcher affiliated with the institution at the time of your project in September, yes. Just moving on to another question. Someone is asking if I'm a mechanical engineer doing thermofluidic simulations. I'm not sure if it's a scientific proposal that I have to connect my research with increasing awareness, or I should propose a solution for increasing awareness. If I'm eligible to apply, do I categorize as advanced research computing during my application? So I'm just trying to make sure I understand the question. I think we might have to address this one in writing, unless Lizanne, do you have insight into this particular question? I think we might need to give it more reflection.
Yeah, I think that would be good. But again, I highly encourage the proposal, but always thinking about how you, because you will be asked to demonstrate how your proposed project will increase awareness and access to DRI.
Thanks, Lizanne. We have a question asking, what if I don't know any subject matter experts to participate in the merit review process? Yolanda, I'll let you answer this one. I think it's referring to the question in the form, in the application form.
Oh, I think on the application form, there is a table for you to recommend 2 people to join the merit review process, but that table is optional. So it's fine if you don't have any recommendation, and we'll just need the context of the your supervisor, the EDI mentor, and the institution contact.
Yes, you'll be able to submit your proposal. It won't be, you won't be found ineligible if you're not able to suggest any subject matter experts for the merit review committee. Someone is asking, saying they're a postdoc. Are they eligible? Yes, I think we addressed this. Definitely, but there's a formal definition of what a postdoc is, and that you must be in a formal postdoctoral position and assigned a supervisor with your institution. And you will find, to everyone, this question is a very frequent question that we receive. So it is on our website in the FAQ, which is linked here on the slide that is displayed right now. Someone is asking, who should they contact to get the institution approval as a postdoctorate? Yolanda, would you like to answer this one?
I'm not very sure. It depends on the institution that you are at, but probably like the VP Research Department. Is that correct, Dawn?
I believe so. Usually the Office of Research Services would be the first place to go to. And depending on your institution, if it's large, they might have many different sub-departments in your Office of Research Services, but that would be the first place to start for institution approval. And recommend that you get started on that early, because sometimes they do take time in the institution to move through that process. Someone is asking, where can they find the templates for the support letters? Yolanda, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah. So when you are filling out the forms, the templates will be shared as a link on the tasks. And also when the SurveyMonkey Apply send out emails to your contacts, the templates will also be attached.
Thanks, Yolanda. Lizanne, I have a question I think that you can answer. Someone is asking, how many days will the in-person meeting be that is taking place in January?
Okay, so there are a few questions. I want to talk a little bit about the in-person meeting and a bit about the OLS training, so open seats. So it's a 16-week long program essentially, and it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's really all designed about providing you with tools for open collaboration, community management, community engagement, and again also about opening some of your findings. So the actual date, time, and duration of the in-person collaborative meeting is still to be determined. So we will post that as soon as we have it. But I do want to say that the idea for the in-person meetings is to really get together and share the expertise that you've gained over the time of your 16-week course. It's to connect with members from different projects and communities. And it's also to empower each other to become effective open science ambassadors in their communities and potentially become a mentor as well going forward.
Thanks, Lizanne. Next question. Someone is asking if the eligibility is only for students. Yolanda, I'll let you answer that one.
For graduate or postgraduate students who are enrolled in a formal program.
Yes. So you could be a postdoctoral position as well. Someone is asking if they plan to start their graduate studies in winter of 2025. Are you eligible to apply? Yolanda, I'll let you answer.
So you have to be affiliated with the institution during the whole project term, which should be started after the notice of award around August or September this year until March next year. So you should have the enrolled in a program during this time.
Thanks, Yolanda. Someone is asking, and Lizanne, maybe I'll call on you, and maybe Patrick or Lee might want to chime in. Someone is asking about examples of key DRI services that proposed projects can use.
So yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
I guess I can. Yeah, I think that just pointing folks to the alliancecan.ca web pages, where there's a services list, is probably the best thing, and those services are generally available.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, from an RDM perspective, I can say, I mean, I think the RDM page on the Alliance website that details sort of the key services is a great resource. Projects that are supporting the advancement of research data management, particularly if the outputs can help to raise capacity or build knowledge in RDM. So there you can see training and learning activities would be eligible, coordination activities would be eligible, all with an EDI lens, of course. And then I guess just in terms of examples of key services or some of the some of the initiatives that could be eligible here around data stewardship would be things around supporting data management planning. So that's tied to the Alliance's DMP Assistant tool. Could also be around the development of DMP templates, for example, data curation activities or metadata application activities. So anything that's kind of supporting the depositing of research data into a repository. And examples of national repository services include the Federated Research Data Repository, Borealis, or domain-specific repositories as well. It could also be activities related to the de-identification or anonymization of research data, again, to help support publication or just general discoverability for reuse. So that's not an exhaustive list by any means, but just wanted to give you some examples of potential RDM-related projects.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate it. Lizanne, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, that was perfect.
Great, thank you. Just jumping forward a little bit down the list of questions. Someone is asking if the project will be done inside of Canada. Is it possible to make collaboration with people or EDIA groups outside of Canada? This funding is only eligible for activities that take place within Canada. If you do have a project that you can apply the funding to for all the activities that take place in Canada, but you're also collaborating with outside groups, that would be all right. I would encourage you to first check in maybe with us through email to let us know about the particulars, because the general principle is the funding can only be used for activities that take place inside of Canada. We have a question about OLS training. Lizanne, I'll let you answer this one. The question is the 16-week OLS training remote or in person?
Thank you. Yeah, so it is remote with an in-person meeting in Toronto. And I want to address, there was another question about budgets. So please note that, and it's also in the proposal, but there is a $3,000 earmarked for that particular item. So as I mentioned, we don't know exactly how many days we'll be in Toronto, but that budget is there to ensure that you are able to get there and stay for the duration of that OLS training and the presentation.
Thanks, Lizanne. And then we have a question about the onboarding training on Alliance DRI, and they're wondering if that is in person. And although I don't know if you're available to speak, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the Alliance onboarding and training would depend on the actual Alliance DRI that your proposal focuses on. And for the most part, opportunities would be virtual.
That's correct, Dawn. Yes, it will be virtual for the most part, and it will be dependent on what has been proposed in their projects.
Thanks, Olu. Someone has a question about if they are interested in why certain equity deserving groups specifically don't take up these technologies, for example, worries about data being extracted from communities, could they propose a research project or focus group surrounding that? Lizanne.
Sure. So again, I would strongly encourage you to submit that proposal, absolutely. But again, focusing on how you can demonstrate that your proposal will increase awareness and access to the DRI.
Thanks, Lizanne. I know we're running out of time a bit. All questions that are not answered, we will respond to in writing after probably next week is when we'll be able to get them out too. So I'm just kind of skimming through to see if I can find a fresh new question that would be easy to answer in this time. The maximum number of pages for a proposal. Yolanda, would you like to answer this?
So the proposal template is on our platform. So we are not expecting to get like a paper or like a full proposal. It will be just answering our questions on our platform. And it will be around 3 to 4 short forms, and some question may be a little bit longer, but with a word limit around like 250 words.
Thanks, Yolanda. Someone is asking, in the college sector, can we apply as an institution knowing that we'll be employing a student? And they also provide some context, but I think the answer is no. The eligibility is restricted to, oh, I see. Well, actually, the application is from an institution. We will be entering an agreement with an institution. The context is that their students do not stay long term. It really is restricted for one student. If this doesn't answer your question, if you feel like I'm overlooking something in the response, please do feel free to email us at the email address that is on the slide here. Yolanda, this question I think you can answer. Someone is asking if applicants in the humanities and arts are eligible to apply.
I believe the answer is yes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If you have a project that aligns with that meets the eligibility criteria, we encourage applications from all disciplines. Are there any requirements for merit review committee members? Is participating in conferences considered as an activity which promotes? I think these are 2 questions. So we'll go with the first question. Are there any requirements for merit review committee members? Ming, would you like to answer this one? Are you available? Maybe not. I'll answer this one. We don't have strong requirements for merit review committee members. We will be reviewing all applications, but we definitely encourage applications from committee members who could speak French, read French, who are from across Canada, from all disciplines, as well as have EDIA expertise or lived experience. So we encourage merit review committee members from all backgrounds to sign up. And we've got 6 minutes left. We have a question about who are eligible recommenders for the letters of support. I think this is a type of question that's coming up a lot. Yolanda, would you like to answer this one?
So there are 3 letters of support that need to be submitted to the application. One is from your advisor. Second is the EDIA mentor. The third is the institution contact. We don't have like a eligibility criteria for those recommenders. You just, the only one that you need to figure out would be the EDIA mentor.
Thanks, Yolanda. And again, I know we're getting a lot of questions about EDIA mentors. This question is whether or not the EDIA mentor has to be doing work in the EDIA field or space, or are they eligible as long as they can support the EDIA project? So I'm happy to answer that one. It's up to you and your mentor if you would like the individual to be your EDIA mentor, and you would explain perhaps a little bit as to why this individual is the person that is supporting you. But it's your choice. They don't have to be specifically doing work in the EDIA field. Someone is asking about submitting the application before July 17th. So Yolanda, I think you can answer this one. They're saying, do we need to submit the application before July 17th so that referees have time to submit their letters, or can they submit it on July 17th?
The deadline to submit is July 17th, 5 p.m. ET. Your letters of support from the 3 contacts, we should be uploading those letters before the deadline.
Thanks, Yolanda. We have a question about whether the funds will be transferred to the hosting organization or university and subject to overhead costs, or directly to the grantee. These funds will be, our agreement will be with your institution and generally through your Office of Research Services. There will not be overhead costs taken, as far as my understanding is, from this grant, and then it will be dispersed to the applicant, the successful applicant, according to your institution's policies. Often the Office of Research Services will require that the account be held in your supervisor's name, but they will still be dispersing to you according to their schedule at their policy. It differs a bit between institutions. Okay, we have 2 minutes left, so I don't know if we'll have time to scroll through more questions, but for anyone that joined late, just a reminder that we will be posting a recording of this session on our website, and probably next week. It will be on the Alliance YouTube channel and on the program page on our website. And we also, any questions that we were unable to answer during this session, we will compile written responses and send out to all registrants. And I think we have, over 350 registrants. So hopefully that will reach enough people to get necessary questions answered. I just want to give a big thank you to everyone for joining us, and a thank you to everyone at the Alliance team who joined to support in answering the questions. I think that is everything I wanted to touch on. We hope you found that the information was helpful and insightful, and we really look forward to receiving your applications and appreciate your interest in the program.
One more thing to add. So the recording and the slides in both languages will be available on the program funding opportunities webpage. So the slides will be in PDF format, and you will be able to download and review it again.
That's great. Thank you so much, Yolanda. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.